Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the International Women's Day celebration. This is the second edition of La French Tech Taiwan's Women's Day event in collaboration with Taiwan Tech Arena, the National Science and Technology Council Taiwan. And today's topic is how to strengthen women's place in tech companies. So welcome, everyone. I'm your MC tonight. My name is Qingxuan Jiang. I'm a consultant on diversity and inclusion. I'm also a social entrepreneur working in the intersection of disability inclusion and tech. Today, our focus is women's innovation and empowerment through showcasing our excellent role models and entrepreneurship. We have a group of distinguished guests, speakers, and excellent role model today. So we will, without further ado, welcome our first guest speaker, Dr. Wu Zhenzhong, Minister of the National Science and Technology Council. Welcome, sir.
I didn't know I'm one of the speakers. I just come here to wish you all a happy Women's Day today. And all the distinguished guests and all the speakers, and ladies and gentlemen, good evening.
Good evening.
I'm very happy to have a chance to meet you all here, especially in these very special days today. And actually this morning, I just kicked off a Cyber Girls competition in Taiwan, and that is only for high school female students to join. So that is, we started about 2 years ago, and for 2 years, already have more than 2,000 female students join the competition in cyber security test. And my director general, she told me I just come here to say happy Women's Day. That's it. I didn't know that I have to give a speech in such an event. I used to give my address in Mandarin, but today is the first time for me to give an address in English and without watching the. Because it's no use for me to watch the paper they prepare for me, you know. But anyway, I just want to say welcome to TTA, because TTA, maybe you wonder what is XYZ. And that is about 2 years ago. Some startup company here, they asked me that they need a lot of capital. And we found that for senior people, senior boss, they have much more fund to invest. So we built a platform, XYZ, to connect different generations. And that is the origin of the XYZ forums. And for today, this is XYZ Forum for Women in Science and Technology. So this is special for Women's Day today. So I knew that now in New York City, there's a United Nations Commission on the women's status, and just this week, and our activities, one of the activities to celebrate the International Women's Days. So I wish all, and also for French Tech, you were the big supporter of TTA, starting from the very beginning. That was 2018. So thank you for the support, and I wish you mentioned that this is your last year in Taiwan. We hope you stay here longer. If you not, what about give him a, okay. So you have to stay here. And actually, Taiwan and France, we have long friendship for many decades. And actually, I just mentioned to Representative Kasabu, and actually last November, I just met your minister, Hotayo, in Paris. And I hope she can be here in Taiwan some days. and that is really good for the friendship between Taiwan and France. So once again, I wish you a very happy Women's Day and hope we have more and more collaboration between Taiwan and France in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you. And next, we will welcome Mr. Jean-François Casabon-Massonave, Director of the French office in Taipei, to give us a speech.
Minister, I have a very good team, and I have to say that they do not trust my capacity of improvise, so they prepare me a speech. But actually, no, it's just one page. But actually, in my no, I totally agree with that. But just I wanted to mention that in my experience, it's more TTA supporting the French tech, or maybe both supporting each other. That's the way it works very well. Dear Minister Wu, dear speakers, distinguished guests, a couple of weeks ago, the French government revealed the class 2023 of the next 40 and French Tech 120 startups in France, which are the most promising startups rising in the innovation ecosystem in France. This year's class welcomed for the first time a female executive in the French Tech Next 40, Eleonore Crespo. She's the co-founder and co-CEO of Pigment. Only one woman among 40 startups. You may say that this is not a lot, but it's better than last year, which was better than the year before, etc., etc. So long is the way, too long. The mission French Tech in France knows that more need to be done. In 2022, under the guidance of Clara Chappaz, she's the woman, the head of the Global French Tech Network. 60 startups signed the Priority Pact to work hand in hand to accelerate towards a more equal French tech ecosystem. Through events such as the one we are, such as the one we are attending tonight, there is a new generation of women getting into the tech industry, startups addressing social challenges of our modern society and creating a more equal tech ecosystem. So I would like to thank the NSTC and TTA for organizing such event and be a loyal partner of the French Tech Taiwan. I would also like to thank French Tech Taiwan for the team for their constant and dedicated work to address these challenges for such events. And finally, I would like to thank the speakers tonight for the impact they will have on our attendees. And I wish you all a great event. Thank you very much. Xie.
Thank you, Director. Next, we will invite all the speakers to be in the front to take a group photo. So we would like to invite Dr. Wu Zhenzhong, Minister, National Science and Technology Council, Mr. Jean-François Casabon-Massonave, Director, French Office in Taipei, Ms. Rose Zhou, Pre-Chairwoman, World Vision Taiwan, Ms. Eva Leiheiner Stefan, CEO, L'Oréal Taiwan, Dr. Amy Huo, MD, MPH CEO, Penguin Smart, Ms. Anya Ling, Chairwoman of the Society of Taiwan Women in Science, Ms. Manling Chen, Commissioner of the Gender Equality Committee, Executive Yuan, Ms. Teresa Ye, Commissioner of the Gender Equality Committee, Executive Yuan, and finally, Dr. Andrea Xu, Director General, Department of Academia, Industry Collaboration, and Science Park Affairs, NSTC. And thank you to our team for having all the photo goodies in the front so we can have an excellent photo. the XYZ, as the minister just mentioned and presented to us. So we will have a group photo. Yes, so we have to go in the front. So please, we ask the speaker to stay because we have more speaker joining in the front today. We have too many talents today, so we ask everyone to stay in the front for another one. Thank you, everyone. We will have another photo with all the audience, so we now ask everyone to be seated. And yes, we'll have the XYZ in front again. Ready, everyone? And the audience here, because it's harder to be in the picture, so if you like, please move on the stairs so we can be in the main picture. For this unique opportunity, if you have the goodie bags that L'Oreal kindly provided today, please show your L'Oreal goodie bag with us. Will we have 1, 2, 3 or? Thank you. Thank you for everyone. So since it's International Women's Day, we have a special part that we prepare flowers for our two distinguished guests to distribute to our speaker today. Our director is still distributing flowers. So if you haven't got one, you still have an opportunity. So we are now approaching our wonderful first panel. We will invite our moderator, Mrs. Andrea Xu, Director General, Department of Academia, Industry, Collaboration, and Science Park Affairs, NSTC, to come on the stage. We'll also welcome our panelists, Ms. Rose Zhou, Ms. Eva Leinherner-Stefan, and Ms. Amy Huok on the stage.
Okay, good evening. I'm Andrea Xu, the Director of National Science and Technology Council, and we are honored to have 3 generations of female leaders today and entrepreneurs with us, and to share not only their contribution to the positive representation of women in the technology sector, but also the social impact and empowerment they being and inspiring through their leadership. So my first question is for Ms. Rose, and we present the Generation X. X stands for the working experience year. It's okay. It means working more than 20 years. I'm also X generation. So
That's fine.
it's okay. You were the chairwoman of the World Vision and director of Delta Electronics, right? And I think it's very different type of works. And you've held a senior position in the tech sector. In addition, you were also the chairwoman of World Vision Taiwan, the foundation supporting education and fund relief for family in need. Could you share your insights and inspiration about the social impact of World Vision and Delta?
Thank you, Andrea, and thank you everybody for having me today. It's great. What a wonderful subject for us to celebrate the Women's Day with this social impact. So I'm very happy to be here together with Eva and Amy. I think I'm quite fortunate to be able to work with the organizations that really take social impact to their heart, no matter it's World Vision or even Delta Electronics. So particularly in the World Vision, of course, it is a organization that focuses on really helping the most vulnerable children and their communities to overcome poverty, injustice, and to be able to live a life in fullness. So the organization itself has such a strong mandate, and so the social impact is in its DNA. This organization has been in Taiwan for nearly 60 years. So with Taiwanese people are incredibly generous and kind, as we all know it. So World Vision Taiwan is able to get a donation from the general public primarily, and mostly from individual contributors to be able to help right now more than 220,000 children and their communities, which is very important for us to understand that not just to give the money to the children or their families, but really to go after the root cause, to understand how can we remedize the root cause of it, which is you have to develop a long-term project so that it's usually a project that lasts for 10, 15 years long, so that you can really solve these foundational problems, no matter it's not having the water, it's poverty, and poverty brings other issues. Poverty brings injustice, it brings violence, it brings many, many other social problems. So World Vision, being such an organization, which certainly has bring huge social impact worldwide, and I happen to come from digital background. So when I took the position as a board chair 3 years ago, the first thing that I did was to bring digital transformation to an NGO. A lot of people would think, wow, NGO, digital transformation, that's a pretty new stuff, but why would you, or is it even possible to bring digital transformation to NGO? Which I actually think that's even more important when you take money from the public. We actually have a stronger accountability to be responsible, to really watch every penny that we spend, that we can be more efficient as an organization. At the same time, to protect the information, the data that the public has trusted us with. So the last 2-3 years that I have to say, thankfully, we're able to really, kind of make huge progress. So I would say, please check out our website. Now the process, everything has much improved, although there's a long way to go. But I want to echo the subject we have, tech, right? Social impact and tech have to go hand in hand. So we should not discount a lot of goodwills, and we simply believe having a kind heart is enough. It's not enough. You need to have the kind heart at the same time with the technology and the discipline to support so that this can really be sustainable. Yeah.
Thank you. Just our Mr. Wu over mentioned that the science should come from humanities, so you may work them together. So now my question go to Eva, and the CEO of L'Oreal Taiwan. L'Oreal is a brand known for the commitment to promoting gender equality and the empowerment of women, notably in the science and research through the Women in Science program and awards since 1998. And we also have also organized the Taiwan Outstanding Women in Science with Wu Jianxiong Scholarship Foundation for 16 years, and just declared this year winners recently. And L'Oreal is also dedicated to deliver innovative tech and sustainable products to your customers. Eva, would you please share with us how to link between diversity, sustainability, and tech innovation? And how has this link influenced L'Oreal as an organization and you personally? Please.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for having me here. It's really my honor, especially on a day like today, Women's Day. So yes, a very good question. When you go back in time, L'Oreal is, we always say a dinosaur because it's a 114 years old company, and L'Oreal was founded based on science and technology. Because the founder, when he was doing his first safe hair dye in his little pharmacy in Paris, he could give the first hair dye that was not harming your hair. And in the service of women wanting a blonde hair color or a brown hair color or a different color that would just give the right results. So science has always been at the heart of the company of L'Oreal to bring the best innovations, but also women. And starting from the founder, who has started to have some privileges for women in the companies, or pregnant women or mothers being supported to pursue their career. So it's always been at the start. And this is also why at one point L'Oreal initiated together with UNESCO a worldwide Women in Science project where we award scientist women worldwide with scholarships, with awards, to really foster women in science. And also very proudly want to mention that the patents that are being done every year at L'Oreal, 55% of our patents for new product innovations come from women scientists working in our labs. And the average in Europe is 13, and 55% is done by women. I mean, I think this is pretty good to show women can do science. And when you reflect on what we can do here in Taiwan, last Saturday we were very proud to have the Taiwan Outstanding Woman in Science Awards. And again, 3 amazing women scientists got awarded, actually 4, for their hard work. And this is, it's been done for 16 years now. So in total, 49 fantastic Taiwanese scientists have been supported by our Taiwan Women in Science Foundation. And these women represent for me role models because they work so hard, they're dedicated, they're of course very smart and intelligent, but also they have to combine their lives, dedicate their lives and family, pursue whatever research topic they're working on in the field of chemistry or mathematics or whatever science they're working on. And seeing this woman receiving this award and being able to support, I have to say, makes me very proud. And it's not only about these scientists that are already, they have done their studies, but it's also about involving high school students. Over 12,000 girls from high schools have been influenced, could speak to these scientists. We invite them, we engage, there's these workshops. And so they can see, wow, these women, they can do it. It's encouraging, right? To see other women being successful in the field of science. So that's the part on science. And then you mentioned our beauty tech. So yes, L'Oreal, you know, we say we create the beauty that moves the world. And without digital transformation and science, we're not just the #1 in beauty, but we also say we're the #1 in beauty tech. And that's very important because technology can enhance beauty. And it's all about beauty products, but also about services. So I have brought 3 examples. The first one, as you can see here on the very left, it's about individual beauty. Because more and more women just want to have products that fit them, right? So there's, for example, a shade finder. We have 1,200 different shades of foundations because every skin is different. And you want to have a matching shade, right? Not a color that is, you know, not matching your incarnation, if it's more yellow toned or more beige. So there's these tech tools. That is, it's all about machine learning and data, input big data, to then say, okay, and done together with our makeup artists who really know which foundation shade would fit, so that a woman just with this tool can actually, which you can see here, find their right match, right? That's here on the side. And another example is our I think it's cool because I discovered it myself recently. It's called Rouge sur Mesure from our YSL brand. So you have, for example, fantastic blue shoes, and you would decide, oh, I want to have a blue lipstick today. Why not, right? So you could take with an app a photo of your shoe, and then you connect the app to this device, and the device is like a 3D printer for your lipstick. And it takes a little thing, and then you have your, on top of that little device there, you can then take your color off and you have the color of the day. So this is individual beauty, what you want for yourself. And it's really fun, and it's fun to play with, and it's a service that we give, and it's engaging, and it's really at the service of women, right? Feeling beautiful on that day. And then going one step further, it's about inclusive beauty. So recently, L'Oreal presented a device called Hapta, which was working together also with an NGO, which is helping women that are that are disabled, that cannot apply their own lipsticks. And instead of asking someone else, can you help me do my makeup? You know, which is a moment where you want to be beautiful, you want to do your own beauty. There's this device which actually helps you apply it. It's called Hapta, and yeah, we've been launching this on the brand of Lancôme. So it's just really to think how we can enable and empower women, because we know if you look good, you feel better, whatever disablement you have. And then lastly, which is very dear to my heart, is the sustainability. We all have to live, and digital transformation helps us to be more sustainable in things we do. And so this is a new water hose. It's called Gyosa. So our hairdressers division can save up to 67% of water in rinsing out hair color or washing hair. It has this almost the same water pressure. It's perfect to use, and we are just now rolling it out worldwide. So this really saves water and gives back to the planet. So this is our general beauty tech with wanting to empower women, wanting to make beauty more accessible, more individual, and also more sustainable.
Thank you for sharing. Let us learn how L'Oreal Tech empower women through beauty tech. And now my question go to the Z generation, Amy. And Amy is the co-founder and CEO of Penguin Smart. And you are not only a successful female entrepreneur, but also a scientist and researcher in the medical field with hands-on experiences as a physician. Could you share why you've used your tech experience to drive social impact as Penguin Smart? Please.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Kwok. I am the CEO and co-founder of Penguin Smart. I not have a big brand like World Vision or L'Oreal, so I'd like to introduce a little bit about Penguin Smart and myself. So I'm actually a medical doctor by training. I went into research, went to public health from Harvard, and had launched, participated in mobile health technology and digital health technology for many years since. And before founding Penguin Smart with my husband, I actually was working with nonprofit, mobile health nonprofits that provided last mile medical diagnostics app solutions for developing countries. So we were going to Tanzania, Mali, going to India to provide services to the village nurses so they can ride their motorbike to be able to do diagnosis for children and women in the villages. And so, so Penguin Smart right now is in the same line of how do you scale best practices in medicine, how do you scale out best practices in parenting to help children with developmental challenges and families with children with developmental challenges to be able to implement rehab exercises at home that help children to be able to speak again. So we're working mainly with children with communication challenges, family with autistic children, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, or even just language delay, helping families how do you make everyday interaction of feeding, of bathing, of just reading books to be a time where it's stimulating for the children that they can catch up on development. So we see this benefit not just for the busy families of double income, busy families who only have routine time with families, but also impoverished families where they have very limited resource to be able to access external medical resource. And so we've been very fortunate. So far, we've served families from families across 35 cities around the world, including the Greater China area, Southeast Asia, Europe, America, and we're looking into building more programming to become more impact projects with hospital networks, nonprofit networks, as well as insurance companies and employee benefits across Taiwan and US. Yeah. So I end up this journey mainly because I started off being a medical doctor, treating patients one-to-one. I loved pediatrics. I love working with children, love working with the moms. You see that in every family, the main caretaker for every generation oftentimes is the mom. And there's a phrase in US, it's called Dr. Mom. I don't know if you heard about it. Dr. Mom. Mom knows best, right? But mom's also the one that carry a lot of the decision-making, the pressure, but sometimes not the financial power, right? And so for us, we see that empowering caregiver in this process of care, of caring for special needs children is critical, not just helping the child, but helping everybody in the family. So in this process of the past five years of doing Penguin Smart, one of the key wins or key joy for us is to see families transformed, not just the children being able to speak and be able to communicate emotions, but also for adults to be able to say they have support, they have someone to lean on because they no longer need to drive far distances to receive help for short distance. And for us, we can be their mobile tech support, rehab support, not tech support, but mobile rehab support, just one click away and one message away. So that's been something that's really encouraging for us. I myself have had the privilege to work with families, directly serving families from across multiple regions, multiple languages, dialects, cultural background, bilingual families, trilingual families, single families, cross-generation families. And one of the common thing that we find is that the hope for next generation is true for every place. No matter which country, culture, language, dialect you're from, you always want to make sure you pass a legacy to your next generation. And there's the strong hope and the strong love for the next generation is something that is it's so encouraging that we become a support. The fact that we can support them is using technology, use machine learning, use algorithms, use phone calls, use text message, all these different ways to be able to support that kind of commitment to thrive within each family is something that's critically important for us. So one of the recent things that we're doing, and I think it's something very valuable, is that we're starting to work with vulnerable populations. Specifically, post-COVID, a lot of resources, on-site resources, have been cut off especially for the needy families. And so how do we provide the digital support for them, remotely continue to provide high-quality care when sites are no longer accessible, or wait time becomes 3 times longer, and the cost for in-person services becomes much higher overall. And so be able to be that resource for the vulnerable population in collaboration with a lot of partners and others who are from the public or from corporates to be able to support these families is one of the key growth for us, especially in social impact aspect.
Okay. Thank you, Amy. Dr. Mom. Okay, after 3 speakers sharing women experiences full of love, sympathy, and very good energy for the social impact. And also your leadership is a great example of power, promoting gender balance and empowering women. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the importance of female social impact. What's the special or different element from to other type of social impact, and what you have achieved, especially from the female role? And I would like to ask Rose first, and then Eva, and then Amy. Everyone 3 minutes, please.
Yes, I was really touched by hearing these two women talked about how technology, or how just generally how much that we wanted to help and we would be able to help. Talking about what's the women's social impact, it's a simple math. Half of the population of the world is women. So women in all aspects of the society actually play a pivotal role in terms of the kind of a value it can bring and the kind of impact that it can create. So if we were to looking at, women in the workplace. That's oftentimes, being taught a lot about, how do we empower women to give women more economic power, to let women to have equality in the opportunities, and not limited to certain roles. I think there are a whole suite of things in the workplace, how we're able to promote women's position in the workplace will have a huge impact. Let me just throw a few interesting statistics. If you're looking at the Taiwan's women's participation in the workplace, it's generally about 51%. It's 51%, slightly lower than some of the neighboring country or the U.S. In Singapore, it's about 60-some%. But interestingly, if you're looking at the breakdown by the age group, in the 20s and 30s, Taiwan women's participation in the workplace is as high as almost 90%. Very, very high. In fact, higher than many other countries, especially European countries. Because, half of the graduation, half of the college graduates in Taiwan are women. So women are equally educated as men. So everybody joined the workforce, but then you start seeing the kind of trickling down. Especially, it becomes very evident when you hit the 30s, the 40s, and the 50s, and you see a nosedive. So then it really triggers you to think about what happened. Why comparing with many other countries, particularly European countries? Many European countries, you actually see the participation rate actually picks up as they go along. So thinking about what does that represent? One is, it probably means our workplace, either women need to be given opportunity to have a stronger earning power. So when they're in their 30s, when they're having a family, they have to think about, is it better off for me to stay at home or economically? Which is better off? Do I take care of my children? Like Emmy talked about, caretaker in the house is oftentimes the mom, right? So this really brings down for us to think about, in order for women to have more impact in the workplace. How does the corporations or the government or the regulations actually help women to be able to make an easier decision? And then second is when women decided to go back to your family which is perfectly great reason. However, it seems to be very difficult to come back, to return to workplace. So how this is, if you're looking at a macro, view, it's a total waste of human talent, right? It's a human capital being wasted because women could have, make major contribution, especially now in the world it is, not only just to be able to have a job, but also promoting women leadership has a special meaning as well, because women's characteristics in many ways are very good in navigating this uncertain world. Very much of a team player, we collaborators, rather than, me, right? So just looking at from the workplace perspective, I think there are a lot of things that can be done by corporations, by government, to really encourage women to come back. And I think the COVID in the last 3 years actually taught us something, that you don't actually need people every day to move and come back to the office to be productive. So hopefully that also enlightened many of the organizations and corporations to actually allow more women to be able to work part-time, so that women's power could really be unleashed. And also, of course, there's a lot about diversity, and everyone understands the value of it, especially putting women in more leadership positions is incredibly important. And that's the reason, I was one of the founding members of Women on Boards in Taiwan. The organization is to advocate more women, not just in the workplace, but in the leadership positions, because women then can decide and the women can create a more friendly environment for other women to actually shine in the workplace. So from the workplace standpoints and from home, in fact, I very much second what Amy just talked about, we undervalue the caregiver's role because it does not have a direct economic value. Somehow we kind of discount that value. Think about having healthy family produce healthy children, and therefore it reduces significant amount of social problems. And we are not really giving enough of the support for a lot of the caregivers in the family, no matter for children or for elderly. So that is something also for our society in general, to really think about, are we rewarding those incredibly important contribution in our society in different shapes or form, or with the different support. And lastly, women in all generations, including girls in the schools, right? So girls in the school, I feel very strongly, which is great that I hear a lot of young girls, winning science competition. Women need to, and the girls need to get more science education, and to be braver, and that they need to be encouraged by people around them that they can. We definitely have the intellectual capacity. So it just, a lot of the cultural dilemma somehow prohibits girls to actually take on, math and science. But hopefully, we're changing this perception with all these activities that is taking place, so that we can see women across all ages, the power and the impact can really be fully unleashed. Yeah.
Thank you, Rose. Now is Eva. Eva mentioned that there are, I think, more than 70% your colleagues are female. So how do you create good surroundings for the female workers, please?
Yes, I think the beauty industry per se attracts more women, right? So we don't have that kind of gender imbalance. To the contrary, I do have KPIs to recruit more men. Yes, that's a different problem, but I can just echo what you say. For me, the most important is the balance and the diversity. And personally, as a woman, and also as a mom of 2 sons, and as in a leading position, right? It's being a role model. It's being encouraging young students up to colleagues, yourself, to just say, well, we are all good. Men and women are equally, smart, busy, successful in the job. But very often, women have to take more the caregiving role on top. There's an extra stretch. And then there's some women that just don't have the confidence in just saying, I can push through. And if you say, of course it's a stretch, and after this I'm going to go home and I'm going to be with my 2 sons and I'm going to check if they've did their homework. Right, but that's exactly, this is something normal for us, but it's also part of who I am and part of how I perceive being successful in my life without having that mother's guilt. Because some of the women decide for themselves they have to be a good mom, they have to stay at home, especially in Europe. And so there's the 2 sides. There's the side that in the job, I think, diversity and a good balance makes us all more successful, and it's inspiring for me to work with women and men alike. And on the other side, I can only encourage women to say, okay, be transparent about your personal life and struggles you have, and if you manage that well, then you can also manage your job well. So it's about not just the competence, it's about the courage and just follow your heart, what you want to do, what you're good at, and then you can succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank you.
Follow your heart. Now, Amy, please.
I think the question, my take on the question is slightly on a different angle. I think the question has 2 sides. One is like, how does the woman impact the society, right? The other one is, how does woman's perspective change, bring different type of social impact? So I like to, the 2 ladies here spoke a lot about women's impact on the society from a workplace perspective, from a family perspective. I'd like to share a little bit about going into noticing, talking about social impact or vulnerable causes, and noticing causes and able to reach out to the vulnerable populations. What I find is that, interestingly, oftentimes the driver champions drivers that can push for societal change for the vulnerable population. We're talking about like the minority groups, talking about disability groups, talking about the voiceless, the hidden behind groups. Oftentimes the driver to advocate for them, on their behalf. They can be men, they can be women, but these groups have, in order to reach these groups, oftentimes it's the woman that's able to reach them. It oftentimes, say, someone the same as passionate about special needs kids as I am, a guy with same passion to be able to talk to special needs families, they don't elicit the same trust, unfortunately, as women that speak to them. Unfortunately, I think there's a power dynamic at play for populations that are used to being on the weaker side of the power dynamic. They actually need a feminine touch to be able to get out of that kind of weak position, to be able to be empowered, to willing to step out of that weak power position. And I think that's a unique quality, not just because we're female, but because understanding that the core of relational, the strength of power of women comes from relational strength oftentimes. So that kind of relational strength often become the bridge to be able to bridge the weak or the under-resourced to resources that's willing to be offered to them. I think that's a really unique situation I find, especially seeing so many nonprofits are led, the efforts nonprofits are led by female. A lot of the initial causes and noticing the weak, noticing the underprivileged often comes from women champions because of their insights, because of their relational building, and they're able to harmlessly engage those who feel already in a weak position. And so I think that's actually interesting dynamic. But of course, when it comes down to reaching out to connect the other side of the bridge, talking to those in power, those with a stronger power dynamic, those in more privilege, then a stronger persona is required. And that can be either men or women. I mean, at this day and age, I don't think people would say, oh, women can't be as strong as men. Voice-wise, gesture and the aura. I don't think there's a challenge that women can't be as strong as men from the aura, right? But in order to be able to reach the other side, to bridge that, I think it does take a empathy and in the sense of empathy to do that. Yeah, so that's one just additional add to how females' strength can add to the societal change for noticing the weak.
Can I just add one more point? As Amy was talking about women's role in the vulnerable society or communities, at World Vision, we have absolutely seen that in every place, particularly when if women receive more education, it has huge impact, not only on the women herself, but on the family, on the community, much more so than men. So that's why we advocate strongly of taking girls away from child marriage, but put them back to school. Imagine, there are 12 million girls every year are forced to enter child marriage in the world. Mostly it's economic reason, okay, because the poverty leads to the need for the parents not to want to have girls as a burden in the family, and therefore just marry the girls when they are probably 13, 14 years old, and take away their dreams and all the possibility. So World Vision does a lot of work in the education of this awareness to really to promote the awareness, like putting girls back to school. When they can finish high school, when they can finish kind of middle school, they can already have a better chance of stronger earning power, and therefore helping the family and the society. So I just want to second that. It's just so important to really kind of zoom in to look at how we can help these underprivileged women's and in those situations and societies, and make a huge impact.
Okay, so let's come back about the question about our leadership. And you are all strong leadership role model for women. Could you describe the key characteristic for the female leaders need to be successful? Also, how has your tech experience influenced your role on your social impact journey? So this question I will ask Aoife answer first, and then Amy and Rose, please.
Well, I think leadership is leadership, and I think there's so many pitfalls and cliches, and I just don't want to say female leadership, men's leadership. It all comes back to the personality. And we can all assume that we all have a certain level of education and skills that bring us to the job in that we are. And from my own perspective, in my own 25 years within L'Oreal, I've just always done my job with my passion because I was interested in delivering, interested in collaboration, interested in cooperation, and interested in driving the success of the greater means that we're working on. And therefore, I would say, of course, we have a female side, and of course, we have more empathy, and collaboration is easier. If there's one advice, it's if you have to need to use your elbows to get where you are in your career, then you've done something wrong. I think it's just in believing in yourself, in good collaboration, and in not pushing cliches and not falling yourself in the pitfall of cliches.
Amy, please.
So before we came back to Taiwan, we were in Silicon Valley for 3 years. And oftentimes there's a lot of discussion about Silicon Valley is a very men-driven world and men-driven startup tech landscape. And oftentimes the discussion is about how can women be just like men. Oftentimes, how can women founders be just like men founders? The analysis about why female founders don't get funding, why male founders get better funding. And at the core of it, I think there are two things that fellow female founders then fall into. One is that they need to be just like men. That's kind of the first pitfall. They need to be just like men. They need to strip all their femininity. They need to strip all their you cannot show your weakness, during that one day of the month. You cannot show your weakness during your postpartum times. You cannot show your weakness, because you had, because of emotions. You need to hide all that because otherwise you're not like men, and you cannot be a good founder. You cannot be a good leader for your startup. I think I've been very fortunate that very early in my startup journey, started in Silicon Valley, I was inspired by other female founders who are successful to tell me that, yes, there are things you can do to show strength, but a part of that strength is accepting who you are fully. At that point, I was even younger than now, much younger than now, and one of the things I was very afraid of was afraid to show that I'm young. So I insist on having long curly hair to look older. I insist on wearing no jeans, only long slacks, so I don't look too young for my age, and nothing pink. So I can be I don't act my age. And then but then one of the mentors said, why not act your age? Why can't you be a 20-something-year-old? What's wrong with being 20-something-year-old and a founder? What's wrong being short hair, and what's wrong liking having hair clips in your head and enjoying little accessories that make you happy? What's wrong having a teddy bear sitting on your table? Having flowers on your table, and it's there's nothing wrong with that. It's true. Then by embracing who you are at that age, at that level, at that personality, fully embracing it, I realized that brought out the confidence I need to come across as strong. Right. So the same way a lot of people feel I need to be like this. I need to role model myself under this role model and strip myself away from all these qualities that do not fit the mold. Then you're stripping away yourself. A part of it is confidence. So I would say that's the main thing. So there's no right mold of what are some qualities of female leaders should be, but the fact that just embrace who you are as a whole, the strong and the weak, and be open about that, and that is enough to show strength. I think specifically as I'm pregnant, I don't know if you can see, but I'm actually 7 months pregnant. I'm 7 months pregnant, and then when I had my first son, first pregnancy, I was trying to hide it, and so not really embracing it, not really embracing the fact that I have a really important job of growing a new life in me. I did not value that. I thought I need to hide that because I'm a startup founder. I need to find investors. I don't know what to talk them about, But the truth is, there are aspects of our lives as a female that is so valuable and so important that it should not be, you should not take lightly. This is a privilege, it's a responsibility and a privilege to be able to have a child in you. It's okay to say, my back hurt, I need an extra pillow. am now, because I am fully comfortable that I can still be able to. My brain is still important, even though I have a child in me. Although mommy brain doesn't help, but So I think that's kind of the thing that I've been sharing about trying to not forget that you can embrace full aspect of yourself, especially in a startup where the startup grow to become like the founders. Then you better be yourself, otherwise your startup is not yours.
Totally echo everything that both ladies have just talked about, especially Amy, you talked about in the past women role model against men. So we want to look more like men. We want to behave more like men. But kind of the time has passed. Now I think in order to become a good leader, no matter a man or women, authenticity becomes even more important. Really embracing who you are. Including your gender, including your background, including your strength, everything in your bag is part of us. And that makes us unique. So if I look back in my career, 30 years in the professional career, I actually think embracing my identity as a woman always has helped me rather than, presenting it as a kind of prohibitant. Because the work is hard enough. If you have to be good and you have to pretend as someone else, it's even harder. If you can be your natural self, that's at least you can naturally exercise your strength, your characteristics more naturally. When you're natural, you actually have more power. But when you constantly try to be like someone else or wonder if I do this, will people like me or not? This is one thing that a lot of us as women have that in our head. We have too many of these noises in our own head. We created some of the kind of bad outcomes or negative thoughts bigger than what it actually is. So every time when I have those thoughts in my head, that kind of stopped me from going forward. I would stop and then ask myself, Rose, if you had done that and screwed up, what would happen? It's actually not that bad. If you really think about it, but it's just the thought that I will fail. Oftentimes, prohibit a lot of women to take on the opportunities, to go extra mile and be yourself, and because oftentimes it's not how other people speak about you, it's how we think we may screw it up. If we fail, what will happen? So I actually think to be able to overcome these mental barriers and to embrace our true identity is the true source of power. And that's where women actually becomes charming. And just like, why can't we have a charming CEO, right? And we can be charming, we can be smart, and be ourselves. So that's what I would encourage all our women, to really embrace who we are and be competitive, but not internally. Okay, use your competitiveness outside, but you not using your competitiveness against yourself and against your kind of group. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for your sharing. I think our audience will have many ideas and feeling want to share. So now it's Q&A time. Please, if you have any question, please raise your hand. We will give you the microphone. Okay, please.
Thank you very much for your sharing tonight. It actually resonates really deeply with me because I'm also co-founder of a startup, but I come from a very different background. So for a long time, I needed to find also my own confidence and also, like you said, embrace maybe who I was, not coming from the tech sector, not coming even from a business background. So I would like to ask, for example, Amy, because you talked about that, what kind of advice you could tell our audience or even me to find more confidence, find this confidence?
It's a great question. I was just thinking about that very recently. We were reflecting on the company started several years, so we have an anniversary reflecting on how did it start, how did our company start, and one of the questions was, how did I become a tech company CEO? I'm a medical doctor. I don't have tech training. I just dabble in tech, and like you said, maybe I don't even fit the mold of like a Silicon Valley tech entrepreneur. In startup, there's always a question of why. So you as a founding team, why you? What are you trying to do, and why you, right? What are you trying to do? Why you? Oftentimes, oh well, I don't know. I'm not from the background. I don't. But the truth is, if you're willing to start that startup yourself, it must be something of passion. It must have some drive in you to think this is important enough for you to quit your job to do this full time, right? And you should respect that drive and passion, right? So that itself, the commitment, the will, the commitment to this cause, to this vision, to this dream, is enough for you to respect yourself for it. And sure, you might not have the gadgets, you might not have the toolbox, you might not have the expertise. That's what a founding supporting team is for. You can use other people's brain. Other people will have the brain, other people have the hands and feet, but they won't have the same heart. So I think the core question is, do you have the heart to push your startup forward, right? If you are, nobody can replace you. That's why you're replaceable, because of the heart.
Okay, we have 2 minutes left. Is there any question? Please.
Thanks for the great panel, female leaders. So I do have a question for three of you. So I have actually lots of female entrepreneur friends, and we often talk about equality and inclusion, right? But I think the hard problem they face is that when they have the baby, the time is deprived. Then how, personally, or what's your advice to take on that problem, right? Yeah, and then it's just a sad story to mention that some of them, after they're pregnant, they got fired from their job, or even they were working in startup just because at the time. Yeah, and then also in Taiwan, if the employer knows that you're a married woman or you have a child, you probably expect a lower salary because they think they assumptionally thinking that your time is limited to be devoted to the job. So what's your solutions, or what are your advice on that? Thank you.
Okay, I can start. A very good question. I think it comes back to your confidence and to your quality in the job, right? If you have an employer and they know that you're good and you have an ambition and you're a person that wants to succeed and that you drive with your relationships, with your connections, you drive the business forward, then to my understanding, I imply that this employer wants me to come back as soon as possible after my maternity leave. And if you doubt yourself that you're going to be losing out or that you're going to be, not being able to catch up, this is the thing where I think we can encourage women to say, it doesn't matter. To the contrary, I can feel that people in my teams, once they are a mom, they're more efficient because they plan better. All of us, if we have to have an appointment, doctor's appointment at 5 p.m., well, we are more efficient during the day because at 5 p.m. we have to leave. And it's the same if you want to go home because you want to spend time with your family, you're just going to be more organized. And so I can only encourage that. And of course, you need to be able to also build everyone for themselves a network, have the help that you need sometimes. In Taiwan, I think it's fantastic that the generation support is very often still there, that the grandparents pick up the kids from school, or that there's late schools and after school activities for the children to be able to be looked after and continue to learn without the mom having the bad feeling, I'm not home to look after my children myself. So, but it comes back to that confidence and enabling and in speaking up as an employer, ourselves, as a leader, to say, of course, she's pregnant, fine, but fantastic, and she can take 1 year off, but I'm so happy as soon as she comes back, right? Because she will be an even better leader, and she will be even better in her role. It's that kind of mindset, and I think we as leaders, we have to foster this mindset and go away with the cliches and say, oh, I cannot hire this woman in that position now. She's just getting married. Probably she's going to have a child next year. I think if we start to promote this, then we're wrong. So it's the confidence, and it's promoting it and being positive about that. And also seeing this, I say people that stay late. We have this people wanting to late, go home after 7 at 9 o'clock the light goes off. Why do I have the list? I get the list printed out and say, working late it's working hard, but it's not working smart.
Yes.
And I think as soon as you're a mom, you're working much smarter.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for this question. I really feel very strongly about this question. I had my son when I was 41 years old. So first of all, my advice is to speak up. If you are truly in the organization, as you just talked about, that your employers kind of just naturally kind of discriminate against female employees, I would encourage you to really speak up. Speak up directly with your boss. A lot of the dynamics kind of goes on kind of in an unspoken way, which we kind of assume this person thinks this way, we assume that person thinks this way. Maybe the easier way is actually to sit down, this is my personal plan, and I'm going to do my job just as well, but I wanted to understand from the boss's standpoint, would you support me? I think that the society is making progress. So we could probably assume even some of the traditional companies were true in the past. They probably just think, women are, it's okay, always think men before women. But this is generally changing. So women should speak up. This is number one. And the second is our child really grows up so quickly. All these diaper days and daycare center, those days, before that you had a baby, you kind of think of this would be forever. No, it's not forever. It goes by so quickly. Now my son is 16, 17. I'm only wishing he could be, stay at a 16, 17 longer, right? So don't give up. Don't give up your career. Don't give up your full life, right? It's all very short term. Once again, back to the kind of noises that you have in your mind. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. It's going to be painful for a while. It's true. But you can absolutely do it.
I'm sorry, because of time limit, we have to stop right now. And let's give three speakers a big applause. Thank you for the sharing. Thank you. And later, we have a coffee break, and we may talk more. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for this very wonderful first panel. We will now have a short break. And everyone, we plan to come back at 7:55. So please, during the time, we have prepared some meal from another wonderful female entrepreneur, Charlotte. She's going to present the menu today.
Hello, everyone. So today you will enjoy some food from Atypique restaurant made in Taichung. Sorry. There is a lot of French specialties, such as the tapenade, the ratatouille, and a lot of vegetarian and vegan choices. Also some sweets. So enjoy.
everyone for being here tonight again. For the second part, we actually prepared a very compelling video message from the French Tech Director, Clara Chappaz. So she's going to give us more context of why the French Tech Taiwan started this event and why we're here to discuss International Women's Day and what does that mean for the tech sector in general. So without further ado, let's listen to the message from Clara Chappaz, the director of La French Tech.
We launched the Parity Pact last year in 2022 with the idea that women didn't have the place they deserved in tech yet. At that time, we just released the French Tech 120 Next 40, and only 7 female were leading one of those companies, and none of them were CEOs of the Next 40 companies, which are the top 40 tech companies in France. With this in mind, we gathered all the entrepreneurs and we thought, okay, what can we do, every one of them, to increase the speed of reaching parity in tech in their companies. There was a bunch of different workshops where people really shared what had worked, what had not worked in their respective companies, and after that we came together and agreed on what are the top 5 things we want to implement because they would have the best impact. The idea of the Parity Pact was to work on the entire chain that leads to the situation we know today, where we don't have enough female CEOs in tech, where we don't have enough female managers in tech, where we don't have enough female in general in the startups. So we started with representation. How do we make sure we have more role models, female role models, internally and externally for the company? Recruitment, how do we make sure that the recruiting processes are completely inclusive, including the job description, which is sometimes something that doesn't work today. Third, training managers on understanding the biases that everyone has. Everyone has biases when it comes to gender. I have biases, you have biases, everyone. So the idea was to train all the managers of the company so they're aware of those biases and they can act on them. Finally, really thinking, once we've attracted those women, we've recruited them, we've helped them to progress in the company, how to make sure that we have all the right processes in place when it comes to paternity or maternity leave, which in a company like a startup, because everything moves so fast, if you take a few months off, things are going to be very different when we come back, so you have to think very carefully on how you re-onboard parents. And last but not least, this idea to have quotas when it comes to boards, because only 20% of the companies of the Next 40 French Tech 120 had female on their boards, and this is also something that is really important, because if you don't have the example at the top, how can you have more female in the entire company? We worked with the companies on making sure that we can help and support the implementation of the measures that we have in the pact, because that's our role at Mission French Tech, is to really gather, support, help companies move forward. So we had a bunch of different workshops where some companies were explaining what type of process they've put in place for maternity leave, or what types of companies they had worked with to train all their managers. And fast forward where we are today, so 9 or 10 months after we launched this Parity Pact, we're very excited because we already see some of the concrete impact of this pact, with more than 2/3 of the companies who have implemented fully one of the 5 commitments, and more than 60% who have implemented already 3 or 5. And some of them have already implemented all the 5 commitments, even if some of the commitments were for much, much later, especially the board quotas is something that we had decided to work on over the course of the next 5 years. But for example, Devialet, which is one of the company of the Next 40, during their last fundraising, they went to raise funds with this commitment in mind, and they managed to really reach parity in their board well ahead before the deadline. So we are pretty excited about how things are evolving, even though things don't move fast enough in tech in general when it comes to reaching parity, and that's something we continue to be completely committed towards. But to give you a few examples, we had a company like Conto announcing just a little earlier this week that they went from 30 to 40% female employees. Now they've implemented everything that we worked on with the pact. We have a bunch of testimony in the same direction, so this is definitely having an impact. But tech as a whole, and especially French tech, French tech as other part of the world, is still not moving fast enough in this direction. And that's why this year we're also empowering the network of communities and capital to really bring all the ecosystem together to accelerate on parity. And we are pleased to see that communities like Taiwan are doing events in that respect, because we need everyone to be committed if we want to see things move faster. On this very special day, which is International Women's Day, I want to tell all the women who are listening to us that tech is here for you to join. We really need you. We need you to build all the innovations of tomorrow, because we can't accept that those innovations, those technology will be built without women. And this is because of equality, but this is also because of performance. And we know that together we will build much better companies, much better product, much better technologies. So our role is to make sure that we can contribute to make this ecosystem as inclusive as possible for you to feel welcome. And we will continue working and pushing towards this. So please join us in this journey.
Thank you, Clara Chappaz, for providing this address. And now we're moving to the second panel, and moderated by Claire Zhang, founder of TechMoi, also board member of La French Tech Taiwan.
Good evening, everyone. So we are here today to celebrate International Women's Day. Are you happy today? Yeah. Great. That's the energy. Yeah. So it's an honor to be the moderator today of this panel. I'm Claire Zhang, the board member of La French Tech Taiwan, and welcome everybody to join us today. So today we are happy to have our members from the different countries, different communities, and let me introduce our panelists today to share their insight of the accelerating the female founders and talents in tech industry. So the first one, I would like to introduce Mrs. Mayoko Suzuki. She is the president of the Startup Lady Japan. And the second one, I would like to introduce our board member, Melody Chen, R&D manager of the Aprom Innovation. And the third one, she joined us from France today, the Aude Moha. She is the head of a product of Table Check. And let's welcome our panelists today.
Hello.
So at the beginning, I would like to invite all of our panelists to introduce themselves. Let's start from Moeko.
Hello, my name is Moeko, and I lived in London, and I used to also live in the US, where there was a lot of diversity, and here a lot of people are probably thinking, what is diversity, and what is a woman, and how can we do better? So I established my own company called Taylor Innovations. And first of all, I was doing overseas business development, and then moved on to IoT, OEM, ODM. And we create like a streaming device called Bloodstreams, which is a live streaming device, which can have 4K live streaming. And in 2018, I also established a Startup Lady because I thought there's a need for women to have an initiative and be able to be diverse in Japan, because our country is still behind, and there's a lot of needs for women. So I tried to make this community global women entrepreneurs community, and it became a large community which has like 1,500 members from 52 different countries. And I also became board member of a Startup Ecosystem Association, which is startups like a supporting group, because we think that also needs an ecosystem. And it's an educational institute with a venture capitalist and a supporters organization, and governments are involved, and we create a lot of fairs and stuff. So thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Moeko. And next, let's welcome Melody. Hello. Hello, I'm Melody. I'm so excited for celebrating the International Women's Day with everyone here. And then, how to say, I have a strong connection with French, and because I was studying in France for my pharmaceutical engineering degree. And then because of that, I have learned a lot from French culture, and also have a lot of projects co-work with Sanofi or PFAB. So because of that, when I come back to Taiwan, I realized actually we have the strong supply chain of manufacturing and technology in Taiwan. So we can do something different. So that's why I didn't choose Taipei, because I want to have a deeper insight for our manufacturing part. So that's why I went to the Hsinchu. So today I come from Hsinchu to join this activity with you. And then, so my company is doing solve the problem for the respiratory disease by our drug device combination product. It's after COVID, everybody know respiratory disease is important for have the advanced technology. So that is my introduction, and I would like to have more discussion with you. Thank you, Melody. And let's have Mohas here.
Hi, so my name is Aude Moras. I'm originally from France. My background is in computer science and international management. So contrary to Melody and Moiko, I started in France and then went internationally. I've worked in software and IoT, always in product management, to try to develop solutions for customers and use technology to solve problems, basically. And I've had the opportunity to work across many industries, such as retail or hospitality, but also across many cultures. After 12 years spent in the US, I recently joined a company called Table Check, and I'm their head of product. So now I'm located in Japan. Really excited to be here tonight. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Aude. And you can I think everyone can find from our panelists that we are very diversity, and we have people from different countries, different area, but they all have the same mind to be open. Yeah. So let's start from I would like to know from you that why at the beginning why you decide to work in the tech, and do you face any stereotype challenge when you working in the tech industry? Let's start from Melody. Okay. Why I decided to join the tech industry? Because I'm very interested in the interaction between science and engineering and innovation. So I think it's a good reason why I joined this in tech industry. And then at the same time, because of pharmaceutical engineering programs, I also discovered myself, I like to see how tech can solve our problems, especially complex problems. And we need to learn the logical way, but at the same time, we shouldn't, when we have a communication with people, we shouldn't only use the logical way to communication. Otherwise, you cannot achieve your goal. So I think it's kind of interesting for a woman why we stay here, because we become the bridge in order to fill the gap. So, and about the stereotype, yeah, may I say I have external or and internal. For me, it's like because actually I'm the Z generation here also. So as a young RD manager, sometimes when you give a business card, people will ask you, "Oh, what's your degree? Where did you come from? And how you can make it? Who helped you?" A lot of questions come to me. So for me, it's also you can answer this question easily, but it means they don't trust you. They don't trust your abilities until you finish the meeting.
business meeting, official meeting, they realize, oh, you have ability. Let's start talk to you or exchange the line, right? Yes. So for me, I have to say I want to be here to encourage young women. Don't think it's impossible, because actually we learn in Taiwan, we have really well educated education, and from our parents, we also have a really good culture because of, I think Taiwanese culture is also really good. I know the French culture is good, but I need to support Taiwanese culture too. Yeah, so I think we should stand out. It's like a previous speakers, we should stand out for women's tech, because we can do it, and we should let our next generation to know what we can do it. I want to say one small joke, because when I was a kid, my father told me, oh, you know, only guy can be the president. And until now, I don't know. When I go to each time when I go back to my hometown, I tell my father, no, women also can be president.
Very good. Thank you very much, Melody. So can you share with us, Odd?
Yeah, sure. So for me, why I chose tech, I'm a Gen X myself. I started to get really interested in tech with the democratization of internet, and I realized very early that technology would be at the center of everything. But it would be also such a great opportunity to be challenged every day and to grow, right? Because tech continues to evolve all the time. So I think that's why I really chose tech in the first place. Now, the stereotypes. I think, I got a lot of stereotypes at the beginning of my career, but I realized that I still have them today. When you get into a lot of tech discussions and you would join, certain communities and everything, as a woman, I was always identified, oh, you must be from marketing, right? Because a lot of people cannot consider the fact that you are a woman and you are in tech. So this is always, something very interesting to face, I guess. I think the biggest hurdle for me was all the stereotypes regarding my attitude as a woman in the company. It was always, especially to be honest in France, but it was always, I was too aggressive. I was too direct. I was not diplomatic enough. I was not smiling enough. And for me, I could not, and I still don't, see a difference between my attitude or the attitude or the behavior of other men around the table, right? But it seemed like as a woman, there were other expectations. And so I had to somehow fit the stereotypes that was expected for me as a woman, or had to behave certain ways. So I think that's the main hurdle that I have had in my career so far.
Thank you, Odd. And Moeko.
Yeah, I always like the cutting edge technology, and I'm wondering how many people here are using ChatGPT. I can't see how many people are raising hands, but a lot, I guess. So when I was looking at the technology, at that time, blockchain was not really popular, not really sure what is a blockchain. A lot of people didn't know about it. So I was going there to check what is a blockchain is about. And there was a community run by one of the crowdfunding company, and it was called a Zen House, where there was a lot of blockchain engineer learning about blockchain. They were actually telling me how to make my own coin, which was really interesting for me. So you can make your Clara coin, you can make my name is Moe, so Moe coin. So it was something, it was always my interest to learn new technology and things. And, a stereotype hurdle for me was my industry is IoT, and it's a male dominant industry. So as a female, people think, oh, you're not making anything. You're as a female, you're not doing it. But I tighten the screw of my own product sometimes. And as a female, people are like, oh, really? are you really doing it? And then they understand, and they believe like I'm really doing it. But then it's a stereotype. But if you're outstanding as a female, you can be like one of the like a black sheep in flock of white sheep. So you can outstand. And I think as a technology grow, I think it's an advantage to be a woman and to outstand, and you can actually express that you're doing it as a woman. So I really think this is something you can do as well.
That's great. I think here with our audience, many of us are sharing the very similar feelings when we are working in the tech industry. And I think that it takes some time to not change, but to make it, to improve, to enhance, to make it better, to make it a better workplace for everybody. So as a female leaders, I would like to know that at what point, as I know that Moiko, you started your own business back in 2010, and at what point you decide to have your own company, your business, and do you face any challenge when you start your company? Can you share with us?
Sure. Right after I came back from the US, I just was working in one company, and I was looking at my right side and asking like, what is your dream? Do you have any dream? Because I was believing like everybody should have a dream and they're doing something. But like right side, there was nobody like, I don't have a dream was the answer. And I looked at the left and I was also asking, do you have a dream? And the person was also like, no, I don't have any dream. So I was like, what is the reason I'm working here? What is the point? As a female, maybe I can do better. And I wanted to actually start my own business because I believed like in the world, people will work really as an individual in the future. It was like a 2011, I think like in Japan, there was not even like a popular working style as a freelancer or working in like as an individual, because a lot of people believed belonging in a big company and working forever until you retire is like a nice thing, good to have a good money to retire and a stable job. But I was believing there should be the time people start working individually, and world would be like soon connected, and people will give work together, not just Japan, but you're maybe giving work to Africa, or you're giving work to France, or you're working with different continents and people. That's what I believed. So I quit my own company. I was working where there was no dream. And I started my own like a platform where I thought, I can connect those people from different countries. Then I figured I didn't know how to talk with engineer, unfortunately, at that time. And, I was trying to do my best. But then engineer made 60% of the platform. And they suddenly said, so sorry, I have to quit. Oh. So that was a hard time for me, and I couldn't find any engineer that can actually write their language, because I think like in Japan I was asking like an American engineer to create something, and in Japan that language wasn't popular at that time, so it was very hard for me to find same language, same engineer. So I had to quit that actually creating the platform. But then I changed business and I ended up doing IoT business. So that was like a little story I have.
Great, thank you. And how about you, Melody? Can you share some experience with us? As a female leaders, yeah.
Yes, with my experience, I think as a woman's leader, sometimes we face a difficult problem with like such as with the engineers, with our as a woman. If sometimes you need to face like a very difficult problem, if you don't know how to solve it, and when you ask people, they may think you are also weak. So in my case, I always work a lot, like work tireless in order to have catch up what I'm stay, where I'm stay, like my position. Because it's one thing is young, another thing is woman, and the third thing is like people have a high expectation when you come back from France, for example, or come back graduate from the good university. They also have a lot of expectations. So you see three things for the woman's kind of hard. But for me, it's I give us a suggestion: never think it's impossible, because I think when I say, oh, I'm doing and I'm improving, I feel it's happy, and it doesn't matter. People say who you are. You know who you are.
Thank you, Melody. Very good. And how about you, Odd? I know that you have worked in so many different countries and with the different people. So can you share something about how to navigate the different cultures as an international team? And do you see any of the biases carried by potential biases carried by the cultures? And also beyond the tech, I know that beyond the tech, you are only the few women in a senior management team in your company. Do you think? Can you share something how to raise your voice and make sure that you are presented properly? Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So I think when I look back in hindsight, what strikes me is that growing up in France, I carried my own assumptions and my own biases about my own gender. As a French woman, I was expecting something about women in the workplace, and I was expecting things regarding to women advancement in the workplace. And it's only when moving to the U.S. that I realized that, it was different. Somehow, women in the U.S., although it was very difficult, had still more advancement possibilities in the workplace than in France. I was working, for example, with Israeli companies a lot, and I could see that Israeli companies had a lot of women leaders that I couldn't see in my own country. So I realized about these assumptions and these biases that I carried myself. And so basically, it made me think a lot about how all the countries and all the cultures were evolving in regards to the place of the woman in companies. So how to navigate the different culture? I think it's very hard in the sense that it's always a balancing act. I feel like on one side, you have to adapt the communication, you have to adapt your style and what you're saying, depending on the country depending on the culture that you're working with, right? If you have customers in South America, customers in Asia or Europe, there are different expectations, as I mentioned, and so basically you have to adapt your style and communication. But at the same time, I want to be myself, right? I want to show who I am as a woman, and it's not like I have the same abilities, especially in tech, as a man, and so I want to still position myself as somebody that is capable and that is promoting women in the workplace. So it's always this balancing act between both, and it's always juggling between what you want to convey and how you're conveying it. Now, I want to emphasize the fact that things have changed a lot in the past few years. I feel globally, we talk about women in the workplace or women in the world, regardless of the country. And I think the new generations are even much more aware of these problems. So the lines between the cultures and the lines for the expectations of women in the workplace have changed a lot in the past few years. And it's less black and white, right? It's less like this country is that way and that country is that way. So it also depends on the leaders you have in the company, or the employees you have in the company. And as a segue to my current position, I'm extremely lucky today to be part of Table Check, because yes, we're very few women at the senior management level, but at the same time, I don't see the biases and assumptions at Table Check against women as I can see them in to some extent the rest of the society, for example, in Japan. So I'm extremely lucky on that. Now, it still is important for me to speak for the women that are not sitting at the same table, and to make sure that I convey my point of view as a woman, regardless of whether this is women in tech or not, but to convey this message as a woman of, have you thought about this and that? And, maybe you come from a different place. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Thank you all. Very useful tips. I think because the border is quite open now, and we all have the chance to work in a different country, different area, or to accept different countries' people in our own region, right? So how to deal with this kind of a situation and manage the relationship with the different people. I think that is very important. Thank you for your tips, Odd. And I also know that the three of you are brilliant women, and you are amazing. You are shining at your job, at your work. And I also know that you are also very active members at a different community, and not only just women in tech, but also like La French Tech Taiwan, La French Tech Tokyo. So I would like to know, do you think, or how do you find the community benefit you? Or how we can encourage women in tech by using the community power? Yeah, let's start from Michael.
Sure, sorry. So when I started the community, at the time, all is correct. I think regardless of tech woman community or its women community, when I started, I was struggling for sure for my business. At the time, I was trying to create a platform. I was actually saying earlier, but my connection was limited, and it was very difficult for women entrepreneurs to meet co-founder or try to find your company. And I believe that's a very important thing. You have to figure out who are the people you can work with or you can move forward with. And as a community, community members always should support each other. But there's a lot of men community. I don't know if you can say community, but there was a gathering. Whenever I go to gathering, there was a lot of black, suit men. That's Japan. Welcome to Japan. And I really thought it's necessary to have a practical community where we can support for women and entrepreneurs, which is very rare in Japan. As if you go to any events, maybe before you could only see 2 women in a bunch of men, 100 men. And I think one time I went to one event and there was a 30 a black suit man, and I was the only woman. And I was trying to talk, and it was a situation I was encountering. And the importance of community is because when we started, it was very a few, but we had 30 people, maybe women gathered to have a conversation and have a learning, because we always invited a person to have a talk. And from that experience, women entrepreneurs who are joining can learn. And I also met my co-founder who are helping to actually create the community. So one person was good at marketing, one person was good at maybe event creation, another one is very good at creating all the a schedule and organizing it. So with those helps, I think those are necessary. And as a community, you always have to support and make your group bigger and stronger and supportive community. Because, a lot of times when you try to start something new, your connection is very limited. And you always have to have someone, you always have a person around you, but you have to, not only yourself, but you have to also talk to others about what you want to do and create maybe community or some sort of a group where you can work together. That's the importance of community, and people will believe in you soon, or later. If you are moving forward, people will believe you. People actually see you doing it. That's a very important thing. And for me, we did a lot of support by creating some of the like a learning bootcamp sessions. That was like something I think I could contribute, and like this La French Tech Taiwan can contribute as well as La French Tech Tokyo.
Thank you, Mike. And how about you, Art?
So being part of these communities, I mean, for me, it helped me in two ways. So the first one is that I realized meeting, for example, women in these communities, that the doubts that I have about my abilities and the question that I had in mind about my position in the company and everything were shared among a lot of other women, even women that I was looking up to, right? So it was really the realization that it was not about my abilities, it was about the voices in my head and the doubt that I had in my head that was not necessarily founded. The second thing is that, you know, as I advanced in my career, for me, these communities are helping me to coach the younger generation, right? And to try to give the tools to the younger generation so that they will advance much further than I will ever in my career, because I didn't have the mentorship necessary. So that's really the two things that these communities are helping me with today.
Thank you, Art. Very good tips. And how about you, Melody?
I think for how to support and support the women's community is like you need to go and join and talk to people. At the same time, you probably at the beginning of your career, probably you have very limited for your networking. But in my case, I used to contact my previous school and then tell them what I'm doing. And sometimes I discover our professors also very interesting what you are doing. And I think, oh, you are amazing. We didn't know you was in the class. When you were in the class, you was not like that. But actually, you are very outgoing. So now I went back to my previous my bachelor's school, Taipei Medical University, for the lecture for our student. And also sometimes I went to the Tsinghua and to have the speech to tell them what's the medical device industry. And they don't know, but they are interested in the technology, or people who study the biology, but they don't know what to do in the future. So actually, I think the school also is a kind of a good place. You still keep your networking. And also for the women's community, like La French Tech is one of that for me. I'm also a board member of La French Tech Taiwan, and they support me a lot. And then they, before the Letitia also give me a lot of advice, and now so he's also coach me a lot. So I think try to participate in a different kind of the women's community is important. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the one important thing is that every community try to build up the safe place to everyone, that the people can share, can connect, and also learn from each other. And that is also very important for, and very close to female nature. I think that is why I believe that community power is also important to support and accelerating the growth of the female talents as well. And also, before we end up this discussion, I would like to invite three of you to share some words to encourage our audience and share some tips with them. So let's start from Melody.
Okay. Actually, I encourage a lot already. But here, I would like to give a sentence. I think decide what's yours to hold and let the race go. Why I say that? Because sometimes we want to hold everything. But for us a woman, we need to choose. We have priority. We probably hear some people are mom, have the family, and some people have other interest.
and then you have work. So I think you hold what you have and just not afraid of choosing any aspect of a job or position in your own career. And then let's go over the stereotype and biases. Let the other people think what they think. You do what you should do. Thank you, Melody. And how about you all?
Yeah, so I think for me, we need to continue coaching women. We need to continue empowering women, not babysit them, but really empowering and amplifying women. But yeah, to go back to what Melody is saying, again, if I'm thinking about my biases and my assumptions right at the beginning, I think that it's also important to help develop allies in the corporate, right, in the workforce, because basically, if we will never manage to get a seat at the table by ourselves. So we need allies within the companies to help us getting to the table. And so we need to work with, developing, breaking down the assumptions and the biases of people, so we show that women are just as capable as men in the workforce, even in tech. And so developing these allies so we can get the seat at the table. So that's my big thing.
Thank you, Art. And Michael.
Thank you. Even I wasn't in your place in Rio, but I felt the power, lots of energy from you actually, and it was really encouraging because a future business needs to take consideration of the tech, and tech is something is a key, right? You have to always think, what is the technology that is coming? What is the technology that's taking place in the future? And you always have to look at a future business or society that change with tech. So you're in there and you're in a place where you can take the lead and you can boost women's talent in tech. And I think you're amazing. And that's something I believe it's necessary to raise awareness and interest for the future. And in Japan, I think a lot of people are trying to create exhibition, but not just a boring exhibition where there's lots of companies that are just sitting, but more people go there and experience, and a lot of technologies are around and they learn a lot from the exhibition. So that kind of technology is coming and you're in a momentum of changing in the technology, and that is amazing. So I think everybody here, I think at this venue, I really see the future. So that's a comment. I think you can do it.
Thank you, Mike. And now I think that we would invite our audience to ask questions. Is there anyone want to raise your hand? Don't be shy. Yeah.
Yes, actually, the president of the Taiwan Society of the Women in Science and Technology. I think we know that there is a leaky STM pipeline, right? A leaky STM pipeline starting from for example, the high school or the college or until the workplace. I think we have tried to encourage our young students, especially girl students, to engage STM higher education, right? Then you will have manpower, right? And then I think our government, such as NSTC, okay, they have a very good policy. For example, once the female PI is diagnosed pregnancy, then she can get extra manpower until her baby reach 3 years old. Okay, extra manpower, that is very precious. So I think in this leaky STM pipeline, our government actually do quite a lot to promote our female or girl student to engage this STM higher education or the STM related workplace. Okay, for example, we have a questionnaire after we held the STM conference for high school girl students. So the first hurdle from their questionnaire is they want to have a balance of their life and work. Okay, so I would like to ask you, since you are young or Z generation, most of you maybe not get married yet, or your kids are small. So what kind of suggestion that you will give this young high school girl student that encourage them to get involved in this STM pipeline?
Thanks for your questions. And yeah, Melody. Okay, let me answer. I'm not married. And yes, I think work balance is very important for everyone. Yes, but especially for girls. For example, sometimes probably girl maybe feel not comfortable because of body, physical problems. You may want to take some rest. And then because you have to work a lot, you have to work more. And in this kind of case, I suggest every girl should have the plan for how to make your work-life balance. It should be have plans, not just, oh, I want to be work-life balance and that's all. You should have make a progress like, okay, if I need to work 40 hours, but it's impossible because my company should be go up now, so I need to work more. So I know probably in 1 year I need to work harder than before. So I choose, but it's not mean I stop other my personal life. It means I keep do some exercise. I keep still meet my family, friends, but not very often. Just that we reduce the times. We reduce the time, but it's not mean you don't have the life. It's just temporary for now this kind of stage. So I think I suggest the young student or young girls also, you need to make a plan. Sometimes just write down it. Let you think. Sometimes actually you waste a lot of time. You say, okay, give me 5 minutes. I will go to sleep, and you start swipe your phone. And actually 15 minutes already gone. Yeah. So for me, it's like we waste so much time. So if you write down your time on your schedule, it should be very valuable. And then because when I was a student, we also have a kind of the booklet. You can write down what you should do in this week. And then I have this kind of habit, so it helped me a lot. So you put your personal schedule on your calendar. Also, just different colors, right? And you know, are you balanced? Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. And Odd?
Yes, sure. So I think, for me as a leader, it's important to voice this concern at the senior management level, right, at the board level. We still have a lot of leaders in tech that are men, and basically or leaders in general that are men. And I think it's important that they understand the pain points related to being a woman, being a mother in companies. And so we need to make sure that as we decide policies, for example, for employees across the company, we do take into consideration the impact to women. So, for example, with the restrictions regarding COVID going down, for example, in Japan, and companies asking for their employees to come back, for example, to the office, it's very important that as that leader consider basically the hurdles that are going to be for women. How are they going to care for their kids? How are they going to, balance their work day and also the family, right? And so that's part of the things that I think we really need to discuss and to convey in terms of, again, biases and assumptions that we make about women's life. So that's really important.
Thank you, Odd. And do you want to share something, Moeko?
Sure. I think a lot of people talk about work-life balance, and I think a lot of people are not mixing up. But if you are working and enjoying the work, your work-life balance is actually equal to work. So your work is your work-life balance. That's something I just realized when I went into the entrepreneur world. And I believe there's a lot of students in the venue right now, right? Probably. Am I right? So I think you are very lucky. You can get connected to anywhere in the world and learn from different countries. And I think like if you're looking at only like a one little thing, maybe that's maybe something you're looking in a small thing. And if you look at the world, sometimes the world has different work-life balance or different attitude, a different family style or a different way of doing. And I think you can learn so many like things from different country, different people, but still like you have to be yourself. And if you like lose time with your family, if you like only do the work, that's not like I think something that is right. So I believe like I really think like Taiwan is much advanced because there's a governmental support and there's a government taking care of the maternity leave and things, if I am correct. But I think like Japan is still behind. A lot of like men are leaving family and working till late at night, and they come back home and the children sometimes don't remember the face of the father. Okay. So this thing was happening a lot, and it changed before after COVID a little bit, but still like it's still like going back to something like that in Japan. So I really think like you have to, of course, have to consider work-life balance, but do what you think is like the best. And maybe like if you are working and if you have friendship at the same time, I think your work-life balance will be balanced like without maybe you considering. And I'm not sure if that could be the advice, but that's the way like sometimes female leaders work, and a lot of like people are probably dealing with this kind of thing. And I don't know how to like put them together, but I think like you can look at the world and see like what is a working style that fits you, and try to figure out your own like style. That's maybe advice I can potentially say to people.
Thank you, Michael. And I would like to address something more. Forget about work-life balance. That is only in your dream. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I'm just kidding. But I think the most important thing is how to do the time management to increase the quality, not the quantity. And also, I would like to anchor what Michael just mentioned. Find our own working style. Because we all have a different body schedule, and we don't feel. For example, like I'm not the morning person. I like to work in the midnight. Yeah, when I was in the school, I always study in the midnight, not in the morning. That is my style. I can be more efficiency during the midnight. But for some people, they like to do the morning study.
Me.
So yeah, we are totally opposite. So just find a way which make you more comfortable, and you will have a higher efficiency. And instead of just try to copy others. Yeah, so I think I guess that we cover most of your questions, right? Thank you. So anyone else? Yes, please. Oh, sorry.
Hi, ladies. Thanks for having us. My name is Wei Ying. I'm like the founder of Fat Boy Lashes. It's a beauty brand in Taiwan. So on a daily basis, I do get young ladies asking me for a piece of advice for our younger generation, because we do cater for younger generation. I was wondering, what's the best piece of advice you guys could like give to our younger generation? Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Let's start from Odd.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
Trust yourself. You're more capable than you think you are.
Yeah, that's great.
That's what I would.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. And Michael.
Well, I just had a talk with a lot of actually people around me, and they're always saying, I want to encourage younger generation. What a great thing, right? You have so many people willing to support younger generation, you should take advantage of it. Like talk to people, what's your dream? Don't like be hesitant. Like just tell what you want to do and just go around and because if you're a student, for example, you're lucky. You can just say, I'm a student. I want to maybe talk to you. I want to interview you. And because you're a student, they accept you. Oh yeah, please interview me because, you know, as a student, you have a privilege. And as a younger generation, you have a privilege because they want to support you. They want to do something for you because they want to support the future. So what a great thing. You just tell people, please support me. That's it. And they're happy to support. So just take advantage.
Thank you, Moeko. And you, Melody?
I think for the young generation, especially for the young girls, how to remove the bias is also very tricky for everyone. It's almost impossible. But I think in my case, I already say like I trust myself, but I'm not like I have to convince someone. I know myself, and so for a young girl, you need to know who you are first. What you like is important. Actually, sometimes I don't know what I like. Because sometimes our education already educates us, we have the right answer. So sometimes actually I choose the right answer, but it's not mean I like. I prefer maybe another answer, right? Because we only have A, B, C, D, and then we probably, I know the answer is A, but I like a B. It's possible, right? So I think we should learn when we grow up. We should always look for our dream. It's important because girls should have a dream, not only family, only to get married. We should get married, but not because we have to. Yes, so it's a lot of a lot of opinion for that for young girls, for relation, for the career, for the family. We have many different roles, and then we have to know who we are. That's important. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Melody. Yeah, I know there are still a few questions that our audience would like to discuss with our panelists. So we will show the linking QR code so that you can connect them through the linking after the event. And also, before we end up this panel discussion, I would like to share a quote that I like very much. Once upon a time, which when I say that means that I forget who said so. Yeah. So yeah, when you are over a space on a rocket, don't ask which position it is. Just jump into that, and then you will get it. You will be successful. Trust yourself, like everybody shared. Trust yourself, and we will make it. Okay, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, thank you. Well, all the speakers, we have this amazing international panel. We would like to invite all the speakers, including Cecilia, if you could come join us to take one last photo. So Moeko, thank you so much. Please stay online with us, and we will let you know what position we should put out for International Women's Day in a second. So please join us. Yes, Director General Xu, please join us. Ms. Cécile Renaud, please join us. Eva, one last one. And of course, our wonderful co-president of La French Tech Taiwan. Okay. Just be normal. That's the instruction from the photographer. So we are requested to have a heart. Oh, excellent. Old and Moiko is so natural in their heart shape. Oh. We can do the outer one. We can do the outer one. Okay. We can have a big one. Thank you, Eva. Oh, Moiko. What should Moiko do? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, thank you. So we are marking the end of our event, but just if you allow me to pick up 3 pieces of advice from all of our wonderful speakers. Number 1, all the ladies here, let's dare to be authentic, to be ourselves, to bring our whole self to work. Number 2, let's embrace empathy as our superpower for our leadership to advance to leadership position. And like Eva just mentioned, we developed this wonderful inclusive tech, inclusive beauty products that's actually with the NGO she just mentioned I consulted with called Disability In. We developed this together, and this all are contributed a lot to the women scientists in L'Oreal Lab. So let's embrace this superpower. And finally, we're not in this alone. Equity benefits everybody. It's not just women. And so we thank all of you today to be here, including our partners, Taiwan Tech Arena, National Science and Technology Council of Taiwan, Bureau Français de Taipei, and more generally, the whole Team France, including the French Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Business France, all of our corporate sponsor of La French Tech, Thales, Sanofi, especially L'Oreal, our long-term supporter, and who provided us a little gift for the participant today for the 2nd year in a row. And of course, the volunteers, the community of all La French Tech Taiwan, all of our excellent, amazing female talents and entrepreneurs in the space, and the most importantly, everyone here, all of you, the ladies, the allies, we need all of you to make this work. So happy Women's Day, everybody, and so enjoy your food and beverages.